Good evening, friends. Uh, a very warm welcome to you for this session on one of our topics on constitutional law. Uh, you must be wondering why we have today selected a topic which is which has not appeared or has not been taken up or given due importance so far in either the civil services examination or in the judicial services examination. It's a very small topic, but now, of course, its proportions have increased, its importance has increased because of the recent developments on the question of citizenship. It has acquired great importance not only from the point of view of general knowledge or increasing your knowledge about the subject of citizenship and the issues related with that, but primarily because it's a hot topic, and as the trend goes, most of the questions are focused on topics which are in news or which have major issues involved with them. I have personally experienced this during my examination in the civil services examination of 1986. When that time, there were one or two issues which were very, very hot in, circulation, like the Shah Bano case of 1986. So when we looked at that, we didn't find that such a topic had earlier been taken up in the examination. But in that particular year, when this case judgment came and later on the law was also amended to take care of that judgment, there was a full question on that. So that is why when I thought of taking my today's session, which is the last demo session, that means the students can have free access to our sessions only till today. From tomorrow onwards, only those students who have registered with us and who have taken up this course will have access to our sessions. So that is why I thought that this particular demo session, which is of extreme importance this year particularly, should not be missed out. And we should cover all aspects of the term citizenship. Now, yesterday's discussion, we had discussed about the salient features of constitution, the concept of constitutionalism, and the constitutional conventions. When we talk of salient features of the constitution, a very important feature is that of citizenship. Citizenship is very important for the persons who are living in that country and who belong to that country, that nation. It's of utmost importance to them. It's a matter of pride for us to be the citizen of India. So that is why we are among the few privileged ones to have that status. As we go through today's session in detail, we'll find that we have only single citizenship, whereas there are some countries where there is a system of dual citizenship. That means a citizen of the nation, and also they can retain the citizenship of a state, which is a part of that federal structure. Whereas in India, though we have a federal constitution with unitary features, we have opted for only single citizenship. We will discuss in detail, but why I am laying emphasis on taking up citizenship as today's topic for our discussion is because of the Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019, which has raised many issues, if not controversies, but at least I will not call them controversies, but they are issues, because for a student of law, there's nothing controversial. It's all matter of fact and matter of law. So what we will have to see is from the eye of a legal person, how we look at the law in its existing form, how the situation was before it came into being, and then finally what is going to be its effect, without looking into the merits or demerits of a particular law. We have to be acting as a professional. So, and also from examination point of view also, we need not look at this as a controversy or write our critical comments on any issue which has got these kind of repercussions and controversies among the various sections of the society. We, in our answers, I'll also tell you at the end of the session how we'll have to frame our answers. Now, before I start this session, one more thing about the yesterday's session. I have received a couple of students' response in writing. They have taken up the questions which were asked yesterday, which were discussed yesterday, the 3 questions on constitutionalism and constitutional conventions. I have only one observation to make, that I'll encourage students to understand the subject, understand the topic of the day, and then try to answer in your own words. Maybe in your first attempt, you may not be able to write up to your own satisfaction, and there may be a lot of gaps left, and that is why I'm here for. I'll guide you through that where those gaps have to be filled up, where those mistakes are not to be repeated, and how to make your answer the best possible answer so that you get maximum credits for that. Okay, so let us start today's topic, that is part 2 of the Constitution of India deals with the subject of citizenship. It has got 6 articles, Article 5 to 11. So we will start with the, it consists, all these articles 5 to 11, they are dealing with the subject of citizenship. Now, as my habit is, as my way of guidance is, that I try to analyze each and every term in the minutest details so that it becomes more understandable for the students, for the aspirants, and it registers into their mind. Once your basics are clear, you are able to understand the nomenclature, the meaning of each term which is used, then it becomes very easy for you to understand the question which is being asked and also frame your answer accordingly to the satisfaction of the examiner. So when we talk of citizenship, the first question, the first thing which strikes us is, who is a citizen? Okay, so definition of citizen we will have to start. Now, before going into any other definition which is provided by the legal luminaries, jurists, etc., provided that definition is not there in that particular statute. Because if that definition is given in the statute itself, then we need not look at other definitions, because that statute is dealing with that particular subject, and whatever definitions are given, we have to go strictly according to those definitions. So let us start with the dictionary meaning of the word citizen, to make it very, very simple. Now, the dictionary meaning says a person native or naturalized. The question then becomes, who is a native and who is naturalized? This we will study later on. Just mark it, okay? Who has the privilege of voting for public offices and is qualified to fill. This is one definition, one type of definition which we find in the dictionaries. Okay, just keep it in your mind. Don't mug up this definition. We will first understand what does it mean. You know, there are two important things which are a person who is a native and or naturalized and has the privilege of voting. Now, if you, why we call it privilege? We are all, in the beginning itself, I said we are all proud and privileged to be citizen of India. Why? Because not only that we belong to this, our motherland, but also that we have got certain kinds of rights which are to the exclusion of others. जो दूसरों के पास वो राइट्स नहीं हैं, तो उन राइट्स में सबसे पहला राइट क्या है? The right of democracy, to be a part of the governance of the country, and that can be done only by way of voting, that we govern the country through our elected representatives, right? So here the dictionary meaning has given focus on one of the privileges, that is to govern, part of governance. Now let us see another meaning. A person who is a member of a particular country, this is important, and who has rights. Only the citizens are getting rights. Non-citizens are deprived of certain important rights, as we will see when we study the constitutional provisions further. Because of being born there or because of being given rights, that is, those rights are conferred. By birth, yes, we will get the rights as a citizen by birth, we are born there, and then if we are given those rights, or a person who lives in a particular town or city. Now, this living part we will have to see from the legal point of view. This is only a dictionary, simple dictionary meaning. Now, Section 2C of the Citizenship Rules 2003, which have been framed under the Citizenship Act of 1955. A citizen means, now here the statute and the rules made thereunder have given the definition. First, we have just have a cursory look at the simplest meaning, which is the dictionary meaning. Now we come to the what the statute provides. Constitution doesn't provide what is citizen, but yes, a law made under the Constitution with the authority of the Constitution, that is the Citizenship Act, and the rules which are framed, the delegated legislation, which states citizen means the citizen of India. Okay, for us, the citizen is the citizen of India in terms of the Constitution of India and provisions of the Citizenship Act 1955. So this citizen definition concentrates only on one thing, that he or she has to be a citizen of India. The expression citizen includes only natural persons and not juristic persons like corporations. Now, what is the difference between a natural person and a juristic person? This has been, we will be discussing in the light of a decided case also. Then, definition of citizenship also we have to see. Sociologist Marshall has given this definition. Citizenship is a status. Now, we were earlier talking of citizen. Now we are talking of citizenship. It is a status bestowed on those who are full members of a community. We have already seen they are the members of a community. All who possess the status are equal with respect to the rights and duties. Now, what does law create? Okay, law creates two things. It bestows rights. Rights on whom? For those who are the object of that law, for whom that law has been made. On one side is the rights and other side is the duties. So there cannot be any right which is without a duty. Now, how do we get that? That if you have a right by virtue of having a valid driving license, you have a right to drive that particular class of vehicle for which you are holding the valid license. Now, that license gives you a right to drive. But then there are duties attached to that you will have to follow the traffic rules, the regulations according to the Motor Vehicle Acts or different rules made thereunder or any other provision of the law. So there has to be a balance. No right is without a duty. Now, we come to Article 5. That is very important because it gives the first right of citizenship. Now, it is not a fundamental right. It gives only that the proper definition as to who will have the citizenship of the country. At the commencement of this constitution, now I will explain to you a little later. Let's first go through the text of this. At the commencement of the constitution, every person. See why I am underlining these terms? Because these terms will be explained by me to you in more details, in the minutest details, so that you are able to remember them and understand them. Who has his domicile, again, another word, in the territory of India. See, when we read any text, we must start underlying like what I am doing here and then analyze each and every term separately. Then connect them and then you will find, yes, look, we have got the complete definition before us in a very, very simplified manner. Okay, which is understandable very easily and remembered. Now, every person, domicile, territory of India, who was born in the territory of India. Again, born, territory we have already underlined, born in the territory of, or either of whose parents was born. इसको भी underline कर लें. Who has been ordinarily resident. Now, these are the keywords which we will be discussing during the course of our session today. For not less than 5 years preceding such commencement of what? Commencement of the Constitution, shall be a citizen. Now, when we say shall be a citizen, it's a matter of right that he shall be a citizen, he or she. Now we come to the first definition, first term, that is person. What do we mean by a person? See, every statute, the person is a very, common word. You and I are persons. Okay, the people around are all persons, human beings. They are persons. But for the purpose of citizenship, who will be considered as a person and who will not be considered as a person? Let us see how. Section 2F of the Citizenship Act 1955. See, why we need these kind of specialized acts? Because it is not possible to have each and every term defined in the Constitution itself. Constitution gives a broader framework within which the laws have to be passed, and for whom? For specific purposes. Like Citizenship Act has been enacted for the purpose of citizen, so regulating citizenship. How? So here the person does not include any company. This is what I was about to say when we refer to the earlier definition of person, that only natural persons and not juristic persons. Here now we will try to understand why it is written a person does not, it is excluding whom? Any company or association or body of individuals, whether incorporated or not. कैसे? अब इसको हम पहले तो एक बड़े ही सिंपल तरीके से समझने की कोशिश करेंगे कि क्यों ये जो कैटेगरीज हैं इनको एक्सक्लूड किया गया फ्रॉम द डेफिनेशन ऑफ सिटीजन पर्सन. Now that means, what is a company? A company is a juristic person. It has got its own separate legal entity. It is incorporated as per the provisions of the Companies Act, now 2013. And once it is incorporated, it cannot die. It has got perpetual succession, perpetual existence. That means कभी ना खत्म होने वाला उसका टेन्योर होता है, लेकिन एक शर्त पे खत्म होता है, when it is liquidated. जब इसको खत्म कर दिया जाए by law. It is created by law. It is liquidated by law, and it has got a separate legal entity. It can sue and it can be sued. So, but it is a body incorporated. It is not that individual which is incorporated. If you see, those law students must have read Solomon versus Solomon case under the Companies law, that an individual is separate, a company is separate entity. Even if he is holding the almost all the shares, maybe 99% shares, हम कहेंगे कि वो मालिक है, कंपनी और उसमें दोनों में कोई डिफरेंस नहीं है. बट नो, they are both separate entities. So that is why a company is a separate legal entity. And any association again, when some people get together for a common purpose, they form an association. Or body of individuals, it can be in the form of a society, it can be in the form of a partnership, etc. So a body of individuals who come together, either associate or form any kind of a structure with common objective, whether incorporated or not. Now companies are incorporated. Now if there is a partnership form, it may be a registered partnership form, it may not be a registered partnership form. If it is a society, it may be registered under the Societies Registration Act, it may not be, but still functioning. But in that case, again, the individual word is missing. Person is only individual as far as citizenship is concerned. It will not include the juristic or artificial persons. So in this case, State Trading Corporation, neither the provisions of the Constitution Part 2 nor the Citizenship Act 1955 confer the rights of citizenship or recognize a citizen, any person other than a natural person. Here the matter ends. When we talk of what? Natural person, versus the juristic person or artificial. So law has recognized only the natural person as far as citizenship is concerned. But how you will determine, it's a question which is not related with the subject, but just for our understanding, how we will determine that a particular body incorporated body like a company has got a enemy character. आपको वही फिर मैं आपको वापस कंपनीज लॉ में ले जाता हूं. What happens there in the company's law? There is a corporate veil. If you lift the corporate veil, only under certain circumstances to know what is the actual nature of that body incorporated, that is the company. And if we have to see the enemy character, then we will have to see what? The members of that company, the shareholders. So in this case also, the shareholders are the natural persons. But company is not the natural person. Company is a juristic person, a separate legal entity. The individuals who are coming together to form that body incorporate are the natural person, and they can be considered to be covered under the definition of a citizen, but not the body. I think it is clear to you. So every person, now we have to see how through various case laws, how the definition of person has been made inclusive definition, or clarity has been obtained. So in the case of Sunil Batra case, a prisoner is also coming under every person, provided he is meeting the other criteria. It's not that simply every prisoner will be considered as a person, but yes, as a person for the purpose of citizenship only we are talking, not for other. Member of armed forces. अब हम armed forces को अलग क्यों करते हैं? अलग इसलिए करते हैं because they have got certain different functions to perform, which are entirely different from civilian functions, civilian administration. They have their own way of working, functioning, operations. Their service conditions are entirely different, and they are regulated by whom? By the laws made by the parliament, and this is subject to Article 33, which provides for the power of parliament to modify the rights conferred by this part in their application, etc. So that Article 33 empowers the parliament to make, special laws or modify by those laws, modify the rights conferred under this part, that is Part 2, in their application to the members of the armed forces. Now we come to another important definition of what is domicile. It is not defined in the Constitution. जैसे कि मैंने पहले भी कहा कि कुछ definitions ऐसी होती हैं which do not find place in the which have not been defined in the Constitution specifically. So we have to search for their meaning elsewhere. That is what we are going to do. But that doesn't mean that we can evolve our own definition. whatever definition is there, it has to be in the context, overall context of the subject we are dealing with, that is the citizenship. So domicile is a place where person lives or has his home. जहां वो रहता है, जहां उसका घर है, बेसिकली उसको ही हम डोमिसाइल की डेफिनेशन देंगे. इसको फर्दर क्वालिफाई किया है जुडिशरी ने. इस पे पहले हम हेल्सबरी लॉज में देख लेते हैं. लीगल रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन इंडिविजुअल एंड ए टेरिटरी with a distinctive legal system which invokes that system as his personal law. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि यहां पे एक पर्सन है and then here is the territory. इस टेरिटरी में वो पर्सन रहता है, right? Now when in that territory he is governed by certain laws. He is subjected to those laws. So that is why there is a connection between a person and the territory. A person, if he resides, if he is in that territory, he lives there, he is subjecting himself to the laws of that territory, which are in force there. An intention to reside forever, ये बहुत important है. एक परमानेंट हमारी इंटेंशन होनी चाहिए, ये नहीं कि वी आर माइग्रेटिंग, वी आर शिफ्टिंग आवर प्लेस फ्रॉम वन प्लेस टू अनदर. वी शुड हैव एन इंटेंशन टू adopt a place. We may be having several places to live, but intention should be to adopt a particular place where we intend to stay, reside forever, permanent residence. In a country where one has taken up his residence is an essential constituent assembly for existence of domicile in that country. एक बहुत ही essential feature है intention to have a permanent, place there to reside and to settle down. Domicile and citizenship are different concepts. कैसे हैं? जब हम आगे देखेंगे कि सिटीजनशिप का कनेक्शन जरूर है डोमिसाइल पे, लेकिन कंसेप्ट दोनों अलग अलग हैं. सो व्हेन वी टॉक ऑफ इंडिया, वी हैव ओनली वन डोमिसाइल, दैट इज द डोमिसाइल ऑफ इंडिया. सो वी हैव सिंगल सिटीजनशिप, देयर इज नो स्टेट डोमिसाइल. That is, there's only one citizenship. There's no dual citizenship as in the case of USA, Switzerland, which are truly federal in character. Okay? India has only one citizenship, with the citizenship of India. It has one single unified legal system applicable throughout the country. There are no different laws. Laws may be different, there may be some local laws, but the legal system is same all over the country. It is a uniform legal system. We have a Supreme Court as the apex court. We have the high courts for various states, and then we have the lower courts, right up to the district level and district and below. Okay, as a unit of various territories, whatever units are prescribed. So, but it is a uniform legal system. It doesn't have a separate legal system for states separately and for the center separately or for union territories separately. Now we come to territory of India. The territory of India is very important. The definition is given in Article 1, Clause 3. ये हम पढ़ेंगे when we study the concept of union. Okay, union का concept है Article 1 to 4. So that is a separate topic which we will be studying. That's in Part 1 of the Constitution. आज deliberately मैंने उसको इसलिए avoid किया है. See, I have avoided two topics today. One is preamble, the other is Article 1 to 4, which covers the definition of union and the states. Why? Because I found that this is, of course, preamble is very important topic and we'll be taking up in our regular classes, which will start from tomorrow. This is only a demo class. Now, territory of India means it has got three parts. One is the territories of the states, because ours is a federal system where we have states as units who are together not by way of any agreement or treaty. We are a union of states where the states have no liberty, no authority to cede from the union. They cannot go away. They are now an integral part of the Union of India. That we'll study there. The second is the union territories specified in the first schedule. Now, these union territories are directly controlled by the center, by the parliament. Such other territories which may be acquired. Now, acquisition of territories is a sovereign function of any country. So these are the three which form in totality the territory of India. Ordinarily resident. See, that's how I am taking up each and every term separately. Okay. So ordinarily resident, not explained in the Constitution again, but it is mentioned in 3 articles under Part 2. So, ordinary resident, it's a very landmark case of Dr. Manmohan Singh when he became a member of parliament from state of Assam. So, the question of his, residentship came. कि कहाँ पे ordinarily resident होना चाहिए as far as citizenship is concerned, shall mean a habitual resident of that place or a resident that as a matter of fact in regular, normal or usual course. It means an usual, normal resident of that place. The resident must be permanent in character. You may not be shifting it from one place to another, and not temporary or casual. There must be an intention to dwell permanently. Come to 5A now. Every person born as well as domiciled we have now understood who is a person, what is domiciled, territory of India at the time of commencement of the Constitution shall be a citizen of India. अब हम आते हैं बात commencement of the Constitution. See, there are 2 parts. When the Constitution was adopted, that is the 26th November 1949. And it came into operation on 26th January 1950. Though the entire Constitution came into operation from this date, some parts of the Constitution immediately came into operation on this date. What was the reason? Why we need it? And this is one part where we have a president, at that time also we had a president, we had a prime minister, we had council of ministers, and there were the representatives who were to be elected. So that is why a citizen only can become the president or the vice president or the prime minister or be a member of parliament or member of council of ministers for that. And then who will elect them? Only the citizens. So that is why some parts, this particular part, but actual commencement of the Constitution started from 26th of January. Article 5A grants citizenship on the basis of just solely means a rule that citizenship of a child is determined by the place of its birth. That means at the commencement of the Constitution, if a person is born by birth, then he will get the citizenship automatically under 5A. 5B, every person domiciled in the territory of India and either of whose parents was born in the territory of India shall be citizen of India. That means या तो वो खुद पैदा हुआ हो या either of his parents was born in the country, he shall be given the citizenship. 5C, every person domiciled in the territory of India and has been ordinarily residing within the territory of India for not less than 5 years immediately preceding the commencement of the constitution. तो 5 साल पहले भी. अब क्या हुआ था? हम आजाद हुए 15 अगस्त 1947 को. We got the independence on that day. But constitution came to be in operation on 26th January. So 5 years before that, before the commencement of the constitution, those who were born or they were ordinarily residing. First is by birth, second is the ordinarily residing 5 years preceding the Constitution of India. Conditions A, B, C are not cumulative. That means तीनों का होना जरूरी नहीं है. Okay, they are alternative. That means if one of them is fulfilled, one will get a citizenship. Now we come to Article 6. Rights of citizenship of certain person who have migrated to India from Pakistan. ये एक important issue है because there are few dates which are very important which we have to learn. I'll explain to you a little later, which will determine the citizenship and how it can be acquired. Okay? Just read it. I'm not reading the entire text. I'm taking you to the word migration. Migration means voluntarily going from one territory to another. So if we look at the previous this thing, who have migrated, मैं इसीलिए अंडरलाइन कर रहा हूं कि आपको माइग्रेशन का डेफिनेशन भी समझना चाहिए. Voluntarily going from one territory to another. एक टेरिटरी से दूसरी टेरिटरी विदाउट एनी कोएर्शन, विदाउट एनी कंपल्शन, वॉलंटरली अपनी मर्जी से. मूवमेंट नॉट बी फॉर अ स्पेसिफिक पर्पस एंड फॉर अ शॉर्ट और लिमिटेड पीरियड. दैट मीन्स इट्स नॉट लाइक गोइंग फॉर एन एक्सकर्शन और a casual visit or for tourism purpose or even for business purpose. Not like that, but with the purpose of moving there for a longer period, sufficiently, reasonably longer period. The word migration does not include mere desire or wish of a person to go to a foreign land. We may go to a foreign land for like what I stated, tourism, for studying, for any other purpose, but not for settling down there. Okay. In order to constitute an act of migration, two elements. One is mental desire and physical departure. These two are key, terms, key conditions. One is your mental desire, intention to stay there, and then physical departure, that is physical movement. Article 6 is an extension to Article 5 and deals with the case of persons migrating to India from Pakistan and extends Indian citizenship to those who would not be citizens of India under Article 5. So it is an extension. जो 5 में रह गए थे उनको 6 में एक opening मिली to get the citizenship. Migration which took place now. अब क्या हुआ था? I said independence was on 15th of August 1947. Commencement of Constitution is 26th January. So prior to that, those who have migrated to India, right, they will be covered under migration. Migration must be complete before the commencement. इस डेट से पहले पहले जो आ गए उनका माइग्रेशन हो गया. They will be covered under Article 6. Now we take citizenship by birth in a nutshell. How to understand? Either that person is born or either of his parents or any of his grandparents were born in India as defined in the Government of India Act 19. इसको ये क्यों important है? Because prior to 1947, 15th August, we had a British India, undivided India, and that was governed by, that time it was like a Constitution, Government of India Act 1935. Now we come to the important dates which I want to clarify to you. Article 6 beats citizenship by migration. They are divided into two categories. One is migrating before 1948 and migrating after 1970. अब इसका क्या importance है? See, yesterday we have studied that India Independence Act was passed by British Parliament on which date? 18th July 1947. पर उसके पहले ही 1 मार्च 1947 से ही मूवमेंट स्टार्ट हो गई थी, बिकॉज देयर वाज ए डिमांड फॉर टू डोमेन्स, सेपरेट कंट्रीज, टू नेशन थ्योरी, India and Pakistan. It formally, was decided, given a legal framework, legal sanctity through India Independence Act, which was passed on 18th July 1947. So they wanted to give 1 year free time for migration. That is why those who migrated before 1948, and then there was a separate provision for those who migrated after this date. The person applying for registration for, now here in this case, if you read the text of Article 6, you will find that those who are migrating after 1948, they had to apply for registration. Okay, but here, those who came before 1948, they were given citizenship without even application. But here they had to apply. So they had to apply for registration. Shall be a resident in the territory of India for at least 6 months. मतलब ये कि जो इस डेट के बाद आए हैं वो कम से कम 6 महीने तक इंडिया की टेरिटरी में रहे हों, तब वो अप्लाई कर सकते हैं. Now come to Article 7. Now it is reverse. First was migration from Pakistan to India. Now those citizens who have migrated to Pakistan. So it was the 1st of March, as I mentioned, 1st of March 1947, because at that time the migration had already started. From the territory, those who have migrated to Pakistan shall not be deemed to be a citizen. उनकी citizenship के लिए उनको consider नहीं किया जाएगा. Provided that nothing in this provision में क्या दिया है? After having so migrated to, अब वो चले गए लेकिन वो वापस आ गए. So has returned to the territory of India under a permit of resettlement or permanent return issued by under the authority of any law or any person for the clause B of 6. So उसमें क्या है कि they had to first get a certificate, a permit of resettlement that we had gone there, but now we want to come back and resettle in India. So rights of citizenship of certain migrants to Pakistan, those who had migrated, इस साथ में ही है. Those after March they have migrated, returns, okay, and then now here Article 7 overrides 5 and 6. 5 and 6 में तो 5 में बाई बर्थ है, 6 में क्या है जो पाकिस्तान से इंडिया आए, तो ये ओवरराइड उनको कर रहा है कि वो फिर गए थे वापस आ गए. Only those persons who migrated between March and January, commencement of the Constitution. Article 6 and 7 make special provision for dealing with abnormal situation. We will not get into the detail of this. Article 8, rights of citizenship of certain persons of Indian origin residing outside India. अब इसमें कीवर्ड है outside India. Okay, टेक्स्ट आप पढ़ लीजिए. I will take you to straight to what is India and British India. I told you that British India was as was defined under Government of India Act of 1935. So this was the section. So India means British India together with all territories of any Indian rural, etc., will not get into that detail. Here, British India means all territories for the time being comprised within the governors, British India provinces, and chief commissioners provinces. Provinces were included into British India. So, those territories which were governed by British were all called British India. Now, why it is important when we talk of any country outside India? Country outside India is used, not foreign state. क्यों? ऐसा था कि जब हम बात करते गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट 1935 की एंड आफ्टर दैट द पार्टीशन, वी फाइंड दैट इंडिया, पाकिस्तान वाज इन टू पार्ट्स, ईस्ट पाकिस्तान नाउ बांग्लादेश and West Pakistan, which is now the Pakistan, is they were treated as a single entity. They were not treated as foreign states. And also the Commonwealth countries, where the British had their own rules. Okay, they were ruled by British, and here also we had the British rule. So that is why a Commonwealth country not being declared to be a foreign state. They were not considered as foreign state. This is what just try to understand. So Pakistan was not considered outside the India. It was considered differently, whether before or after the commencement. अब क्या Article 5-6 deal with citizenship till commencement of the Constitution. Okay. Article 8 deals with citizenship after the commencement of the Constitution. Right? Now we come to class of persons who or either of whose parents or grandparents was born in India and who is ordinarily residing in any country outside India. And if he has been, so A has got two parts, who is ordinarily residing in any country outside India, not in a foreign state. But if he has been registered as a citizen of India by the diplomatic consular, अब वो जो outside India रह रहे हैं, what they have to do if they want to become a citizen of India? We have diplomatic officers, they are diplomats there in those countries. We have consulars, if not diplomats. Then they have to apply to them and get themselves registered there. Come to Article 9, persons voluntarily acquiring citizenship of a foreign state not to be citizens. Those who give up their citizenship and acquire citizenship of a foreign country, they will not be considered because we don't have dual citizenship. So they have voluntarily acquired the citizenship of any foreign state. So terms under this is voluntarily is by their own sweet will, by naturalization. I'll tell you how. Direct grant by the foreign state. उन्होंने अप्लाई किया फॉरेन स्टेट में और उनको वहाँ की सिटीजनशिप मिल गई, या उनको सिटीजनशिप फॉरेन स्टेट ने ऑफर की एंड दे हैव ऑप्टेड फॉर दैट. सो हैज एक्वायर्ड मीन्स एक्विजिशन ऑफ ए फॉरेन सिटीजनशिप. Now, foreign state again means any state other than India, right? We will just go quickly through this because we have other important topics to discuss also. And it is not that much important from examination point of view, but the part which we are going to discuss a little later is definitely. So, Article 10 is if you have become a citizen, every person who is deemed to be a citizen under any of the foregoing provisions, that is means 5 to 9, shall subject to the provisions of any law that may be made by Parliament continue. It is a continuation of your citizenship. Come to the last article, Article 11. parliament to regulate the right of citizenship. This is very important. Now here the whole scene changes. How the present situation is there, its origin lies here in Article 11. Kaise? Nothing in the foregoing provisions of this part shall derogate from the power of Parliament to make any provision with respect to the acquisition and termination of citizenship. Both the things. चाहे वो एक्वायर करें या उनकी सिटीजनशिप टर्मिनेट कर दी जाए. अब टर्मिनेट स्टेट करती है, हम गिव अप करते हैं voluntarily. If we surrender, if we give up our citizenship, that is another issue. But if the state terminates under any law, state cannot terminate arbitrarily, and all other matters relating to as so it does not intend to lay down a permanent or comprehensive law relating to citizenship in India. The power to enact such law is with the Parliament. Now we come to the laws. Having completed all the articles, now we come to the law which deals with the various provisions, various aspects of citizenship. And that is the Citizenship Act of 1955. Okay, so what are the various modes how we can acquire the citizenship of India? One is by birth, पैदा हुए, बाय डिसेंट, हमारे पेरेंट्स या ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स थे, दे वर सिटीजन्स, बाय रजिस्ट्रेशन, लाइक वी कम बैक, लाइक वी केम बैक, वी गॉट रजिस्टर्ड, और वी आर इन ए कंट्री आउटसाइड इंडिया, वी गो टू डिप्लोमेटिक मिशन एंड रजिस्टर अवरसेल्व्स. बाय नेचुरलाइजेशन, नेचुरलाइजेशन होता है कि व्हेन द कंट्री अलाउस यू टू बिकम ए सिटीजन थ्रू देयर ओन लॉज, लाइक वी हैव लॉज. So where we allow them, this is important in our further discussion in the present day situation. By naturalization, naturalization के हिसाब से जब कंट्री एक लॉ के जरिए थ्रू ए लॉ कंट्री आस्क यू और मेक्स यू एलिजिबल टू बिकम ए सिटीजन, ओके, और बाय इनकॉर्पोरेशन ऑफ टेरिटरी. हम if we acquire a territory, or if a territory becomes a part of India, okay, by way of merger, by way of surrender, or by any other means, then we will, those people, those persons who are staying there will become the citizens of India. So these are the various modes. Just remember these, just for your knowledge, okay. Now, if we say by birth, again a quick revision: on or after 26 January, but before 1st July 1987. That means we have again divided. The law has divided, created different categories. First category is by birth, who are born after 26, after commencement of the Constitution, but before 1st July 1987. Second is after 1st July, on or after 1st July, either of his parents is a citizen of India at the time of his birth. एक कम से कम होना जरूरी है, okay? And then again another important date is 3rd December 2004. On or after 2004, the 3rd December, if both or either parents are citizens of India, or one of whose parents is a citizen of India and the other is not a illegal migrant. ये अब एक नई टर्म आ गई जिसको अब हम समझेंगे, ठीक है, at the time of their birth. आगे था कि either, अब क्या हो गया कि illegal migrant की टर्म ऐड कर दी गई. Why? It has got historical reason. I'll tell you. The children of foreign diplomats, those who are posted in India, are not eligible for citizenship, and also those who are enemy allies. That means they belong to an enemy nation. Okay, who decides? That's for the government to decide. How we can lose citizenship? We can lose citizenship by renunciation. We renounce. we give up. By termination, by law, by the state, and by deprivation, when we are denied. These are three terms, three ways. Now, what happens to the overseas citizenship? Okay, this is all under the, now we are studying only the Citizenship Act 1955. Through amendment of 2003, made provisions for acquisition of overseas citizenship of India. जो लोग इंडियन ओरिजिन के थे उनको एक स्पेशल स्टेटस दिया गया, राइट? एंड दिस एक्सपेंडेड द ग्रांट ऑफ ओवरसीज सिटीजनशिप. देन this amendment replaced the nomenclature of overseas citizen of India with overseas citizens of India card holder. एक कार्ड बना दिया गया उनका जो अभी भी चलता है. So if you have that card, I mean those people have those cards, they need not take a visa to visit the country. Now अब हम आते हैं very important from examination point of view. The Citizenship Amendment Act, इसको CAA बड़ा पॉपुलरली कहा जाता है, which is a recent development of 2019. इसमें एक टर्म आई है persecution. Now, persecution क्या होता है? See, now we go to the historical reason. At one point of time, you must have studied in the history, India included Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan too. Okay? So they were part of India. And these countries have, now these countries, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, they have not opted for secular structure like India. They have gone for a state religion. And what is their state religion? Is Islam. That's why they are called Islamic Republic. They have named like that. So, what happened? Though in those countries where the people belonging to the state religion are in majority, so the people belonging to other religious denominations, communities become what? They come in minority. That is why they are called minority groups. Now what happens in a, like we are very lucky to have a secular structure, that here all are treated equally. There is no state religion. You have, the fundamental right to profess any religion, to propagate any religion, to follow any religion, or even not to follow any religion. You have your own freedom of faith, but not in those countries where the minorities are not treated at par with the nationals. So what happens to them? They start getting persecution. There is a religious persecution. एक होता है prosecution, एक होता है persecution. फर्क क्या होता है कि prosecution में आप legal means से उनको prosecute करते हो. If they have violated any law, anybody who has violated any law will be prosecuted as per the laws. But persecution is उत्पीड़न, जिसमें law नहीं कह रहा लेकिन उनको तंग किया जाता है through various means by putting various unreasonable restrictions. ठीक है? तो now we come to what is persecution. Refers to hostility, ill treatment, especially because of race or political or religious beliefs. This is the dictionary meaning of persecution. वो एक रेस को बिलोंग करते हैं तब उनसे डिस्क्रिमिनेशन होगा. नाउ यू हैव सीन इन वन प्रोविंस ऑफ चाइना आल्सो द मुस्लिम्स आर बीइंग persecuted. In Pakistan, the religious minorities like Hindus, Sikhs, they are persecuted. Their places of religion are attacked. Okay, they are forced to convert. So these are all persecution. There is a illegal pressure on them. Afghanistan, where the gurudwaras belonging to Sikhs are being destroyed or attacked. So this comes under persecution. So this is the amendment. Now, what is this important amendment? It is primarily to, mitigate the sufferings of the persecuted minorities in those three countries. Okay, what are those three countries? Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Pakistan. And what are those minorities? They are Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jain, Parsi, Christian. In fact, if you look at the definition of Hindu under the Hindu laws in India, these four categories come already under the definition of Hindu, right? And so they have included Parsi and Christian. Why is Muslims have been excluded deliberately? Because they are not treated as minorities in these three countries. They are, they follow the state religion of those respective countries. They are the Islamic countries. So there is no question of persecution. And this particular amendment aims at mitigating the sufferings of the minorities who are being persecuted. So what are the conditions? Please understand, this is very important from examination point of view. So they have been made eligible for citizenship of India. Not that everybody will be covered under that. Certain conditions have been put. These conditions are very, very important to remember. Previous requirement under the Citizenship Act was what? Applicant must have resided in India. Kitna? During the last 12 months as well as 11 out of the previous 14 years. ये पहले था. Now, after the amendment, this period has been relaxed. The second condition. First condition is a must, that they must have migrated to India and must be residing in India. Second condition has been relaxed, and it has been relaxed from this 11 years to now 6 years. Okay, now this is under consideration of the highest court, Supreme Court, as far as its interpretation is concerned. Okay, so we'll have to wait for the outcome of that. But as of now, there is no stay on that, so it is a law. Now, अभी हमने पीछे कहा था भी who are the illegal migrants. तो illegal migrants की definition हम देख लेते हैं क्या है. That is covered under the Citizenship Act of 1955. Illegal migrant is a foreigner. First thing is that he has to be a foreigner. Foreigner means a citizen of another country, a foreign country, foreign state. Who enters the country, that is who enters India without valid travel documents. क्या होते हैं? पासपोर्ट होता है और वीजा होता है. अब कई कंट्रीज ऐसी हैं जहां पर हम बिना वीजा के जा सकते हैं. लाइक इंडिया हैज ऑल्सो गॉट, these are all treaties, bilateral or multilateral treaties, where the visa requirements are either relaxed or are done away with. But passport is a must, because passport is like a document which certifies your citizenship. If you read your own passport, you will find so and so is a citizen of India. Okay, so passport is a must. That is a valid travel document. पहला तो ये है कि उनके पास नहीं होता जो इलीगल माइग्रेंट्स की डेफिनेशन में आएंगे, या जो आए तो थे वैलिड डॉक्यूमेंट्स के साथ, तो दे एंटर्ड विद वैलिड डॉक्यूमेंट्स बट स्टेड बियॉन्ड द परमिटेड टाइम पीरियड. अब आपको वीजा मिला है 6 महीने का इंडिया में स्टे करने के लिए और आप 6 महीने के बाद भी रह रहे हैं, देन यू बिकम, when you entered you were not illegal migrant, but when you continued to stay without a proper visa, you exceeded the time limit, you become a illegal migrant. Now, illegal migrants who fulfill following condition will not be treated as illegal migrants. अब इस अमेंडमेंट की बात हम कर रहे हैं 2019 की. कौन है? हिंदू, सिख, बुद्धिस्ट, जैन, पारसीज, क्रिश्चियंस. दे आर कमिंग फ्रॉम इलीगल माइग्रेंट्स. कहाँ से आ रहे हैं? अफगानिस्तान, बांग्लादेश, पाकिस्तान. Entered India on or before 31st December 2014. This is the cut-off date. इसके बाद जो है वो उसमें नहीं आएगा. Cut-off date. इसको याद रखना. Okay. And those who are not in certain tribal areas of Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Tripura or covered under 6th schedule of the constitution or under inner line permit, that is Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram and Nagaland. See, in certain North Indian states, you need a permit. Particularly the foreigners, they need a inner line permit to enter and to stay in those states. Okay. Now we come to another important. So I think the CAA has been made clear to you, understandable, and again I am repeating, this is very important from examination point of view this year. In all examination, maybe law optional civil services or this judicial services examination. Now, what is National Register of Citizens? So, I mean, there are two things which are very important. One is who are the illegal migrants, illegal migrants coming from 3 particular countries belonging to particular religions who have been made eligible for Indian citizenship, provided they meet those certain conditions. Now, what about those who are already citizens? For them to make a record of that, to keep a record of that, a National Register of Citizens has been created, though it has been implemented so far only in the state of Assam for historical reasons which we will see. But it is envisaged for the entire country. An official record of legal Indian citizens, very important. इसका purpose क्या है? What is the purpose of creating a National Register of Citizens? To keep a record of all those persons who are Indian citizens, citizens of India. So that we know that it's different from population register. It is different from census. We'll see. So, to keep a record of those who are citizens of India, this register is there. So, this is mentioned. Where it finds mention? It finds mention under the Citizenship Rules 2003. अब क्या होता है, रूल्स कैसे बनते हैं? जैसे ये रूल्स जो बने हैं, दीज आर अंडर द सिटीजनशिप एक्ट ऑफ 1955. दिस इज द मेन एक्ट. अब क्या होता है, व्हेन यू विल स्टडी एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव लॉ, there you will find that a term called delegated legislation. What is the need for that? It is important from the Citizenship Act point of view. That's why I am touching upon that, though we will be studying that in administrative law in more details. Every act which is passed by the Parliament has a broader framework. There is a statement of object of every statute, which is mentioned in the beginning of the statute. बिफोर द एक्चुअल स्टैट्यूट, द टेक्स्ट ऑफ द स्टैट्यूट स्टार्ट्स, उससे पहले एक होती है स्टेटमेंट ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट्स। तो स्टेटमेंट ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट्स में एक ब्रॉडर व्यू दिया जाता है कि फॉर व्हाट पर्पस, फॉर व्हाट ऑब्जेक्ट्स दिस एक्ट इज बीइंग एनेक्टेड। तो इन दैट केस Citizenship Act has been enacted to deal with the issue of citizenship. Now, Parliament, while making the law, takes opinion from various, quarters, from the experts, from, the parliamentarians, from academicians, from various sources, public opinion. They take into consideration everything and then a draft is prepared. Now that draft contains broadly the issues which are to be covered under that act by way of that law. And it should be in consonation with the statement of objects. Now, when Parliament passes that law, they neither have time nor have the technical expertise to get into the minor details, particularly with respect to the implementation of the laws, that particular law. So it is left to whom? Though the duty of making law is with whom? The legislature. They are the law-making authority as per Constitution. But they delegate that authority to a part of executive. Why? Because they don't have time. Second thing is they lack technical expertise. So what happens is that it goes to a select people, select experts who get into that and frame what? They frame rules. Now these rules are framed to take care of the technical details and the actual implementation of the law. So that is how NRC finds mention in the citizenship rules of 2003, because it is a form of implementation of the broader law, that is the Citizenship Act. So, what is the definition? It is given in 2K, Rule 2K. It says, National Register of Indian Citizens, the register containing details of Indian citizens living in India and outside India. This is very important. That is why we are saying it is the National Register of Citizens. The word important term is citizens. So we should have the details of our citizens who are the existing as on date or as on the date which is prescribed are the citizens. Now it makes no difference whether they are residing in India or they are residing outside India. But they are citizens. How? As per the provisions of the Constitution, 5 to 11. If they are covered under that, they are citizens, they continue to be citizen, and they have not adopted the citizenship of any other country, or they are given that card, okay, citizenship card. So they are covered under that. So that is why they are, their numbers are, or their details are available with us. It is prepared for the first time in 1951. पहली बार ये बना था following the census of 51. But इसको formalize किया गया under rule 2K of the citizenship rule. लेकिन it found its origin in 1951. That is immediately within a year of the commencement of the Constitution. Census क्या है हम अभी देखते हैं. In 2003, under Section 18(3) of Citizenship Act, the central government made the citizenship, registration of citizens and issue of national identity card rules 2003. And this provided for nationwide NRC. Right? So the origin is here. Now, I think the detailed notes on this topic have already been conveyed to all of you. So my request is that please go through them, and whatever I have discussed today, definitely it is because I have prepared the notes. So definitely everything will be reflected there. But for your record purpose, for revisions, etc., you can refer to those notes. Now, what is census? Okay. And how it is different from NRC? Census enumeration of the population of the country. Now, it is here, it is the word keyword is the population. There the keyword was citizen. So, all citizens may be the part of population, but the entire population cannot be the citizens. Okay? Like all contracts or agreements, but not necessarily all agreements or contracts. Only those agreements which are enforceable by law or contracts. Similarly, here also, one may be a citizen and then, of course, he will be a part of the population. But if there is a enumeration, there is a count of the people, count of the human beings, persons, that count will come under the definition of the ambit of population. So, and is conducted after an interval of every 10 years. Now, the next is due in 2021, which is going to be the 16th census. Okay, the first census was in 1872 during the British time. So every 10 years there is a census, but because of the present pandemic situation, we do not know whether the census and in what form it will take place next year. It is due next year. So let us see. So this will be the 8th census after independence. 16th total, first in 1872, and the next 2021, which is due, will be the 8th census after independence. Now we come back to Assam. Why Assam was treated differently? That means the NRC first implemented in Assam, but not in other parts of the country. Okay? Now, it has not been enforced in whole of India. Exception is Assam. Kyun? Here is the reason. Resolve the problem of illegal migration from Bangladesh and neighboring regions, and so that identification and deportation of illegal immigrants can be done. See, in northeastern states and particularly in Assam, because Assam has got a long border with Bangladesh. From the time in 1971, March 71, that is, I think 25th of March 1971, when the problem in erstwhile East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, started, because they wanted independence from Pakistan. The historical reasons are all known to everyone. It's a part of history, modern history, that the elections were conducted, and elections in Pakistan are a big farce. not now, but right from beginning. The day they got their independence, the elections have always been questioned in Pakistan. Now, though erstwhile East Pakistan was having Muslim population, majority population, they, as a religious community, they were fulfilling the condition of being a part of the state religion because it's Islamic republic. So Islam is the state religion. They were majority of them, rather predominantly, they were Bengalis. Right? Earlier it was East Bengal. Now our part is West Bengal. So that East Bengal or erstwhile East Pakistan and the present Bangladesh is a Muslim country. They are Muslims, but they are Bengalis. So their linguistic identity is entirely different from those who were or are in the present Pakistan and then erstwhile West Pakistan. There also majority Muslims, here also majority Muslims, but here predominantly Bengali, there predominantly Punjabis, Sindhis and others. Okay, so there was a complete divide. What happened? In erstwhile West Pakistan, the Punjabis and other communities, they won the majority. In erstwhile East Pakistan, the Bengali-speaking Muslims, they won the majority. Now the problem became as to who will govern the Pakistan, total Pakistan, complete Pakistan. And that was a major issue. Because if we look at the erstwhile West Pakistan, we have one section, one community, not religious community, but linguistic community and ethnic community who got the majority. But in erstwhile East Pakistan, it was different. So there was a big problem. And since the West Pakistan wanted to keep a control of the erstwhile East Pakistan, they started committing atrocities, inhuman atrocities against their own people, their own citizens. And that led to what? And atrocities of a very horrendous kind. Rapes, murders, and whatnot. So there was a huge exodus of the population into India. Millions of people, they migrated into India. And mostly they went to Assam. Now, problems started there. And they were all illegal immigrants, illegal migrants. Why? Because they did not have proper travel documents. So, illegal immigrants are what? Someone who lives or works in another country when they do not have the legal right to do so. The right comes from the citizenship or by a permission, by way of passport, visa, okay, or any other permit. So, as per Citizenship Act, which was amended in 2003, the definition of illegal immigrant is a foreigner who entered India without valid documents or initially had valid but has overstayed. Already explained to you. Now, illegal immigrants not eligible for citizenship, ruled out. Okay? Either by registration or by naturalization, they can be. So what happened is, by registration, no. They cannot register because they do not fall under the definition or the category provided under the Constitution. But naturalization may kaise? Because the state has got, the parliament has got the power, the authority to make laws and see that they can be made citizens by way of naturalization. And that is what has been done through CAA. Okay? And also by way of NRC in Assam. So they were to be identified as to who are the citizens and who are illegal immigrants. पहले वो migrants थे, बाद में जब वो रहने लगे they became immigrants. Okay, this is the difference between the two. So what happened? The criteria of citizenship in Assam, that all persons of Indian origin, including who entered Bangladesh before January 1966, again a very important date. Okay. Then after Assam Accord in 1985, see, Assam has been, I mean, some of you must be from that state or from that region. They will be in a better position to understand the issues of involving Assam. The Assam Accord was signed in 1985 with ASU, and the act was amended as a result of this accord. Now the dates, important dates are between 1st January 1966 and 25 March 1971, which I mentioned just now. They could get citizenship after living 10 years and registration. This was important. Actually, the problem came after this, 25th of March 1971, when there was exodus. Earlier, they were just crossing the border illegally and settling down in Assam and disturbing the demography of the state. So, for that, a time limit was fixed that after they have studied, after they have lived for 10 years, and they are also registered as illegal immigrants. After 25th March 1971, those so-called refugees from present Bangladesh and then erstwhile East Pakistan will be deported. This was the key feature of the Assam Accord. Now, in 2009 Citizenship Rules 2003, the rules got amended and Rule 4A and Schedule of Citizenship Rules 2003 was inserted and forced only in Assam because it's a peculiar situation for a particular state only. Okay? It didn't have the pan-India repercussions. So, a local problem which was adversely affecting the demography and the socio-economic structure of that particular state. So what was that Rule 4A? Rule 4A made special provisions as to National Register of Indian Citizens in the state of Assam. Kya kiya? Nothing in Rule 4 shall on or after the commencement of the citizenship, this. Rules of 2009 applied to the state of Assam. They excluded the state of Assam. The central government shall, for the purpose of NRIC in the state of Assam, cause to carry out throughout the state of Assam for the preparation of National Register NRC of Assam by inviting applications from all the residents for collection of specified particulars relating to each family and individual residing in a local area in the state of Assam, including the citizenship status, कि वो बांग्लादेश से आए हैं या इंडियन हैं, based on the National Register of Citizens of 1951 and the electoral rolls up to the midnight of 24th day of March. This was the important date. The Registrar General of Citizens registration shall notify the period and duration of the enumeration. So, the enumeration process was introduced through Rule 4A. The manner of preparation of National Register of Indian Citizens in the state of Assam shall be such as specified in the schedule appended to these rules. So a schedule was prepared, and then how the enumeration will be conducted. House to house enumerations is replaced with invitation. So earlier it was the house visits. Now they invited the applications from the citizens of specified particulars. So again 4A said it is based on National Register of Citizens 1951 and electoral rules up to the midnight of 24th March 71. Provides for inclusion of original inhabitants of Assam citizens without doubt in the NRC. तो NRC में जो already citizens हैं वो तो included होंगे ही. The manner of preparation of NRC in Assam in the schedule of citizenship rules 2003. Now there is a provision of foreigners tribunal. So what is foreigners tribunal? Tribunal क्या होती है? Tribunal is kind of a appellate body जहां पे आप एक अपील डाल सकते हो अगेंस्ट द बेसिक एक्शन. अब हम देखते हैं ना, there is a central administrative tribunal and there are other tribunals as far Article 323A B is concerned of the Constitution that provides for creation of administrative tribunal. So tribunal क्या होती है? Tribunal वो होती है जैसे कि if somebody is affected by state action, so instead of going to the court, you go to a tribunal constituted for that particular specific purpose. So here the purpose is what? Foreigners who are not Indian citizens and they are governed by what? There is a Foreigners Act of 1946 and the Foreigners Tribunal Order of 1964. So only foreigners tribunals are empowered to declare a person as a foreigner as per these acts and rules. These are quasi-judicial bodies to determine the why. Why they are called quasi-judicial? Because they function as a judicial authority, but they do not have the judicial powers. Right? They have been given, they have a color of a judicial authority, but they do not exercise the powers of a judge. But they function on the same lines. Persons with their name excluded in NRC can appeal to the Foreigners Tribunal within 120 days. So ये मैंने बताया था, it's like a appellate authority. So if they are aggrieved that their name has not been included in the NRC, they can appeal to the Foreigners Tribunal. And there is a time limit. Limitation is there, that is of 120 days. Okay? So now we come to another register, which is National Population Register. This is a register of usual residents of the country. अब इसमें क्या है, हमने देखा वो जो NRC है, NRC deals with only citizens. Here it is the entire population. That's what I told you, that all citizens are part of population, but not everyone part of population is a citizen. So that's why it has got a different purpose. That is for a different purpose. Okay, NRC is for a record of the citizens, whether they are residing here or they are residing abroad, but they are citizens of India. But here, NPR is a register of usual residents of the country. It includes both Indian as well as foreign citizens. And NRC is what? It is the official record of legal Indian citizens. This is the difference. Now, what is population register? Okay, under the Citizenship Rules 2003, population register, the register containing details of persons usually residing in a village, rural area, town, ward or demarcated area. Demarcated by whom? By Registrar General of Citizen Registration within a ward in a town or urban. So virtually it covers the entire territory of India within the boundaries of the country. लेकिन ये एक स्पेसिफाइड एरियाज के लिए, यूनिट्स के लिए है. अब रूरल एरिया अगर देखा जाए तो उसमें क्या होता है कि यू हैव ए द स्मॉलेस्ट यूनिट इज ए विलेज, देन you have a rural area, right? Maybe a revenue area, okay, revenue circle, you at the village, then you have a group of villages forming a circle, then you have a district like that, or a town. Town is again defined under the respective law, ward, or the Registrar General himself can demarcate a particular area which is called as demarcated area. तो ये किस लिए है? Why these units are taken into consideration differently? Because they have to cater to a particular, it's easy to maintain. It's very difficult to have one single register for maybe for the entire district or for a state, and difficult for the country, of course. But when it is specified to certain areas, units, and all those units are put together, then it can be compiled easily. Okay? So this is as per the Citizenship Rules 2003. Now, NPR is being prepared by prepared at what? At a local level, which is the village or sub-town, subdivision, sub-district, or a district. Okay, a district may be divided into various subdivisions. Like we have subdivisions where the head is the administrative head is the subdivisional magistrate, SDM. For the district, we have the district magistrate or the collector. State and at national level. Okay. Now it is mandatory for every usual resident of India to register in the NPR. It has been made compulsory, mandatory by law. So what is usual resident? He has it my habit that I try to explain each and every term for easy understanding and for your remembrance and grasping. Okay, you are able to retain if you understand the basic terms used anywhere, whatever text you are studying, whether it's a law or any other subject. If you are able to understand the terms, it will be easy for you to address. According to the Citizenship Rules 2003, a usual resident is a person who has resided in a local area for the past 6 months or more, or a person who intends to reside in that area for the next 6 months. So this is the 6 months, either prior to that 6 months, minimum period, or who desires to stay for the next 6 months or more. So friends, with this, I come to an end of this session today. I have tried to cover most of the issues, most of the areas which occurred to me, which I found could be of help to you in your preparation for the examination for this subject. So in that case, I have tried to cover most of the things, and you might have already received the notes. So these are for your consumption, for your understanding, and they are very, very exhaustive notes. I tell you, now from tomorrow onwards, we will not be distributing the notes in these forms. That means they will not be exhaustive notes. those notes which will be provided to the students from tomorrow will be supplemented by our sessions, interactive sessions like this. So what will happen, that main issues will be listed, the details will be discussed here, will be dictated to you by me on the board here, so that you can take notes of that. Why I am doing it? Purposefully, because I want you to understand in the interactive session itself the details of the topic, and also when you write with your own hand, you will never forget them, and it will be easy for you to revise them at a later date. Okay, so tomorrow onwards, the notes will, please remember, notes will not be exhaustive, number one. Number two, only those students who register for the course will have access to our sessions. The session timing will remain the same, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Now, of course, we are doing it through Microsoft Teams, where you have to download the app. But in a few days, maybe in a couple of days' time, the access will be directly from our website. So you will be given a username and a password which will be specific only to the particular student. You can go to the website and you can straight away, by clicking on the link there, will have access to the live classes. So those who are interested only in online classes, the same pattern will continue till the course is complete, the respective course, whether it is law optional course for the civil services examination or the judicial services examination course for the for those students. Till the entire syllabus is covered. It may take 4 to 5 months for the civil services examination aspirants and may take 11 to 12 months. So those, I think there's one aspirant who wants to interact with me. So kindly switch on your mic, unmute yourself, and then you can speak on. I'll listen to that. Please. Hello. Please unmute yourself. No, somebody else is also unmuted. If you can mute, the others can mute, and then the concerned person can speak. There are two who want to ask, and somebody has to mute.
So can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Sir, I had a doubt
Yeah, tell me.
regarding Constitutional Amendment Act 2019.
Yeah.
So isn't this act violative of Article 14?
See, may I know your name, please?
So my name is Pavitra.
Yeah, Pavitra, the thing is, as I already told you, the constitutional validity of this amendment has been challenged in the highest court, that is Supreme Court of India, and it is pending there. So it will not be, proper on our part to discuss this when it is already sub judice. But yes, the issue has been raised because Article 14 deals with the equality, equal protection of laws and equality before law. But this is one of the, I tell you, not only this particular amendment, but for that matter, any constitutional provision, when it is challenged, Article 14 is one of the basic articles which is mentioned, okay, because it deals with the principle of equality. Now, principle equality is with respect to rule of law. Okay, the Citizenship Act Amendment Act of 2019 has been yes, it has been made with a, it has been done with a specific purpose. Okay, now the purpose is the mitigate the sufferings of the a section of the people, minorities who are being persecuted, and with another reasoning or a logic that they are being persecuted in those countries where they are in minority, okay, by the majority community, or the state where the state religion is there, whereas in our state we don't have a state religion. So this question is definitely before the Supreme Court of Law, and we have to await their verdict on that. Any other participant who wants to ask any question or has any query can I can't read this. What will be the implication of enforcement of NRC in the whole India? Yes, see, we have to see. We have the example of Assam before us. Now, whenever any new scheme is implemented, there are problems relating to implementation. Okay, now these issues have to be, addressed by the state. Now, these are in the knowledge of the state. That is why NRC has been, as of now, has not been implemented in whole of the country, because they are getting into the details as to what are the problems, what are the likely issues, how it is going to affect, what are the positive aspects, what are the adverse effects. So all those things have to be examined by the state. Now, these are implementational problems. So definitely it's not that the idea or the concept is bad, but yes, there are problems relating to implementation. That is why it has been put on hold. Yeah. Any other? Somebody wants to ask, I think. Can you?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, I have one doubt, sir.
Please tell me.
Sir, why do we call the foreigners as aliens?
No, I have not said foreigners as aliens. See, anybody, if you look, again, I request you to go to the dictionary. What is the meaning of aliens? Why they are called aliens, not their own people. They are from outside. They are not part of our community. So generally we use this term as for enemy aliens. I have already used in my discussion today. But generally, yes, if you must, it's a term which is being used for those who are not part of your community. They are from outside. Any other?
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Anyone else? Or should we close the session today? And since there are no questions which I could lay my hands on, either for the civil services or for the judicial services, so I don't have any, I cannot give you the question, but yes, definitely I'll prepare some model questions based on our discussion today, particularly with respect to CAA, NRC, and NPR. And the foreigners issue, again, very, very sensitive, but very important from examination point of view for this year or perhaps maybe for next year. I'll prepare some model questions and I'll try to send it to the participants through email, perhaps, so that you can attempt those questions and then send me your answers. That will be for your guidance purpose. So if no further questions, if anybody else has got, welcome. Otherwise, we'll wind up for today and see you tomorrow. For those who will be enrolling with us and registering as a regular student for the respective course. Thank you and best wishes.
For more videos, subscribe to BN by IAS and press the bell icon to never miss an update.